suppose it'll take me about 3 months.
Oh, Percy, you promised to take me on your next trip.
Oh, that's not fair to me. The other day at tennis, you promised to take me.
My dear, I'll tell you exactly what I'll do. I'll charter an ocean liner and I'll take the whole bally lot of you.
Percy! Uncle Percy! Look what we found in the bottom of the old packing case.
Oh!
I've never seen a thing like that before. Is it very ancient?
My dear old chap, you know, that's a Samoan battle axe. One of the most deadly weapons I know of.
What a horrible-looking thing. Where on earth did you get it?
Well, here, sit down, I'll tell you. On my last visit to the Pacific Islands, I had an invitation to visit an old Samoan chief. When I arrived at the quaint old village, he had, with the usual hospitality of his race, arranged an exhibition of the different dances of his tribe. 2 boys in the native skirts were practicing a blood-curdling dance with their war knives. One made a wild slash at the other's neck, and he just managed to duck his head in time as the knife swept by with terrific force. These Samoans have magnificent physiques. They keep themselves trained to the minute. It is part of their religion. In the Siva dance, they use these heavy knives and twist and twirl them in a way that sent a chill down my spine. I was sitting much too close for one of those knives to slip. The native orchestra consisted of a gin bottle, oh yes, empty, wrapped up in a grass mat which the drummer beat with 2 short sticks. These knives have an edge on them like a razor, and at the end of the blade there is a hook with a very sharp point. Which the chief explained to me could be used with just as good an effect as the blade. What a cheery little idea. A Samoan welcome is never complete without its dancing girl, who gave an exhibition of what looked like a native Charleston or Black Bottom. Anyhow, whatever it was, they seemed to enjoy it as much as I did. Luina was the prettiest girl in the village and an expert dancer. Her movements, especially her arms and hands, were quite different to the hula girls of Hawaii. The lady sitting next to me told me that Luina was about to become the wife of the chief. One of the boys tried to be Charlie Chaplin and John Gilbert rolled into one. To me, his knees were much more expressive than his face. I couldn't quite gather what the lady thought. Some weeks later, I was in the Hawaiian Islands, and I took one of the big planes to go to the island of Hawaii, where I was going to visit an old friend who owned a big cattle ranch there. Smooth sea is like a huge mirror and reflected the beauty of the clouds. As we flew over Honolulu, which is rightly called the crossroads of the Pacific, the mountains in the background made it look like a beautiful painting. The luxurious Royal Hawaiian Hotel, in its setting of palm and coconut trees, reaching right down to that famous beach at Waikiki. Where if you tire of surfing, a swimming pool is close at hand. Diamond Head, the most famous landmark in the islands, stood out majestically. As we followed the coastline down to Cocoa Head, A huge, extinct volcano where the lava has torn great gashes in its side as it rushed down to the sea. Looking ahead, one of the many lighthouses on the eastern end of Oahu comes into view. Then all of a sudden, as if it had just pushed its head above the turquoise water, was an old crater. I was told that for years it had disappeared, then suddenly popped up again, only this time half its size and in the shape of a crescent. As we neared the island of Hawaii, I thought our pilot was going to call on the lighthouse keeper's daughter, but he really flew as low as he could with safety to show me a big sugar plantation. To give you some idea of the enormous value of this product, in 1929, over $64 million was paid for raw sugar exported from the Hawaiian Islands. As we approached our landing place, I counted over 60 waterfalls along this beautiful coastline, some over 1,000 feet high. When my host took me to see his cattle loaded, he drove me for miles and miles through avenues of these beautiful autumn-tinted tree farms. The Hawaiian cowboys are wonderful horsemen, and my friend explained to me there was absolutely nothing cruel in this way of shipping cattle, as after long hot days crossing the rough lava country, this plunge into the salt water not only refreshes, but cleans and disinfects them. I'm a great lover of animals, and could see that tying the cattle to the side of the boat by the horns protected them as they floated clear of each other. Once on board, they were given a good old feed and bedded down on fresh straw. This Kona coast yards, when I felt a terrific tug that made me feel thankful I had put on the leather harness. Otherwise, I would have taken a header overboard. After hours of real hard work and some very distinctly fishy language, I found I had hooked a big yellowtail tuna. Which after its splendid and desperate fight had finally drowned. Sounds funny, a fish drowning, doesn't it? But it's a fact. They do. Can you imagine my surprise when I discovered that that tuna was nearly 200 pounds?
Uncle, that's the biggest fish story I've ever heard.